Welcome back to another Saudi Pro League show, the league that just keeps on giving. Mohamed Salah could potentially be on his way to the Saudi Pro League. We've got loads of other transfer news for you, and we've got a little roundup of what's happened in game week 3 so far. Game week 2 I was away for. I saw some of the highlights. I've seen most of what's happened in game week 2, and the Saudi League is improving week after week. They keep on bringing in more and more assets to the Saudi Pro League, and these assets are players with massive reputation, massive names, and massive transfer fees and wages. So let's get into it, because the Saudi Pro League is absolutely blowing up right now. It is on everyone's timelines, For You pages, YouTube recommended, you name it. You cannot escape the Saudi Pro League. This is something that just has to be spoken about. Salah could potentially be on his way. Mohamed Salah is arguably one of the best players in world football, an exceptional talent, a man who almost guarantees 20 to 30 goals every season, and Liverpool could be at risk of losing him to the Saudi Pro League. If the rumours are to be true, Mohamed Salah wants to join the Saudi Pro League. He's 31. He's now a want-away player. He doesn't want to be at Liverpool as much as he probably once did. Obviously, we know things at Liverpool aren't quite as rosy as they've been in recent years, and the money in Saudi Arabia is probably too hard for a humble man like Mohamed Salah to turn down. He would become the highest earner in the Saudi Pro League. He's already on a sizable contract at Liverpool, but that's not enough. He could potentially be on his way to top the likes of Neymar, Benzema, Ronaldo, and be on even bigger wages than that. But what comes with a player like Salah is the fact that he's already in a pretty long contract at Liverpool. It's only recently signed, and there are rumours that are being spoken about to break this contract and get him out of Liverpool. The fees that are being spoken about are in and around the 200 million mark. That's what's been suggested. I'm not saying that is what's going to happen, but the numbers are going to be pretty ludicrous if Mohamed Salah is going to move to Saudi Arabia, because believe me, Liverpool will not want to sell him, and Jurgen Klopp has publicly come out and told the media that he is not for sale. And when a statement like that is made, it means big money will have to be put on the table for that player to be allowed to leave, because Liverpool need to replace probably the fact that they'd lose 30 goals a season and the fact that they'd probably then miss out on the Champions League. A 30 goal a season player is 100 million easily, and missing out on the Champions League is worth 100 million. Liverpool are going to need the money. In other news, another massive fee around the 50 million mark. Mitrovic has joined Hilal. Subject to earlier transfer speculation in the window, he's been asking to leave Fulham. He's not been training well, according to Bernardo Silva, the Fulham manager. And eventually, the price was right for Fulham. Around the £50 million mark is what's been rumoured. Nothing's been publicly stated of how much that fee was. But he's now on his way to Hilal to link up with fellow Serbian Milinkovic Savic. He's also their third signing from the Premier League this season. He managed to score 111 goals in 205 games for Fulham. Had a very successful promotion campaign. 43 goals in 44 games that season when they earned their way back to the Premier League. Hilal are obviously 4-time AFC winners as well. They've won the Asian Champions League 4 times. They are the most successful club in Saudi Arabia. And a little spoiler, he's already scored his first goal as well. So it's not stopping here. The Saudi Pro League is dominating the market at the moment. And when it comes to big names, they have no struggle in attracting them to this league. Mitrovic has been linked with the likes of Chelsea and other big teams in the Prem as well. What I will say is Mitrovic's disciplinary record obviously hasn't been amazing, but I'm sure as the older he gets, the more mature he gets, he's looking to put that behind him. We're moving on and away from maturity and older players now, and we're looking at one of the hottest prospects, one of the most spoken about names in this transfer window, and it's Gabri Veiga. The 21-year-old midfielder has emerged ultimately last season as one of Europe's most in-demand young talents and has been spoken to by a host of Premier League and Italian clubs trying to convince him to join. These teams aren't just small teams. We're talking about Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Newcastle, Napoli, the Serie A winners, and nothing's quite materialised yet. It looked like at one point Napoli were pretty much earlier this week set to sign him, but due to image rights, talks stalled and have now ultimately broken down, and he will be on his way after Saudi swooped in to Ali. His destination apparently in Saudi Arabia. It looks like Matthias Yassel has been absolutely key in luring him to the club. He's spoken to him in person, explained the project, and obviously with the attacking style of football that he's building at Ali, it looks like this is the perfect move for him in terms of the front three that he's going to be getting to play with and create for. Unfortunately, though, this move hasn't been looked at with a positive view in Europe. Toni Kroos, the Real Madrid superstar, a man who's won absolutely everything in football, has publicly come out and labelled this transfer as embarrassing on his Instagram, on the official Here We Go post from Fabrizio Romano. But look, it is what it is. But when you're a guy like Gabri Veiga, that money's being waved in front of you from Saudi Arabia, which we know is the case with every transfer that's moving there right now, with the PIF-owned teams and some of the other teams as well, because they are so well financially backed. It's a difficult situation to turn down. Toni Kroos is probably jealous that he hasn't had an offer come his way, to be honest with you. And a guy like Gabri Veiga, who hasn't achieved nearly as much as Toni Kroos, is on his way there. I'm sure Kroos, if he was offered, would definitely be having to think about the move. Anyway, how can Gabri Veiga turn down playing with the likes of Mendy? We're playing with Firmino, Mahrez, Kessie, St. Maximin, Ibanez, Demirel. These are top players that Ali have managed to sign. How can he turn that down? It's a move that I think is good for him. It obviously takes him out of the European public eye, but there are eyes on the Saudi League right now, and I'm sure he will be well watched. And what a time to go. If he decides he plies his trade there for 3 years and wants to move back to Europe, he'll be at the peak of his powers, and I'm sure he won't be short of offers for a big move. Turning our attention back to Nazaire, Laporte, the 29-year-old Frenchman turned Spanish, has departed Manchester City to move to Saudi Arabia. He'll be plying his trade at Nazaire along with the likes of Ronaldo, Mane and co. for a small fee of about 24 million. This for me seems ridiculously small for a player of his quality. At times he was exceptional at Manchester City, but he's kind of fallen off of Pep's radar in recent, or probably the last season, to be honest with you. He obviously wasn't there for the Super Cup. He wasn't as key in last year's treble as he might have wanted to be. He's had some struggles with injuries as well, but on his day, an exceptional player with a fantastic left foot and an eye for a pass. He was everything Pep Guardiola needed at a time at Manchester City and has been a very likeable player for the City fans and the team itself. So look, a sad one for me to see him leave the Premier League. For a fee of 24 million, it seems absolutely ridiculous. Where were Chelsea in that? Because I'd have loved to have seen him join them. But look, we're not here to talk about Chelsea in the Premier League. What I do want to touch on, though, I say not to talk about the Premier League. I'm starting to wonder when the Premier League are going to start asking for more money for some of these transfers. We'll get into it a little bit more, but the likes of Otavio have left Portugal to join the same team for 60 million, and a player of Laporte's quality moves for 24. Now, you can get into it that sometimes contracts are obviously a big talking point. If the player doesn't have long left on a deal, the fee isn't going to be that much. What I do think is going to start to happen, though, and this is going to be inevitable, and some countries have obviously already latched onto this, is there is going to be a Saudi tax. I'm absolutely certain of it. It kind of already happens. Some of the biggest clubs in Europe have a tax because of their reputation, because they have a lot of money. I will use Chelsea as an example. They pay an awful lot of money because it is well known that they are willing to spend the money. If you're a team, for example, Brighton, know they can charge Chelsea, Liverpool, all these types of teams a lot of money for their assets because these teams have the money to cough up. The same with Real Madrid if they're buying a player. The same with Barcelona. The same if Bayern Munich are buying a player. They just paid 100 million for Harry Kane. These big teams with the money will be charged premiums. Jack Grealish to Manchester City was 100 million. This is the sort of thing that happens in football when businessmen and owners become aware of how much money is available to be spent. And I'm pretty sure that by the time we get round to next summer, there will be an increase on what is being paid by Saudi teams to the majority of the world. I think this season has probably kind of taken most of the teams by shock, and it looks as if they're just kind of getting enough money most of the time to just pay them out of their contracts. Look, some moves have been massive and they've been very sizable fees, but there are some that have been low in terms of the level of player that's been acquired by the PIF. Obviously, though, when a team has a player on a massive contract, it is sometimes better to sell the player for less money and clear the contract off of their wage book than it is to simply ask for more money and then have to ultimately either not sell and keep the player on their wages or sell the player for lesser money and clear them out and get the wages removed. And then in terms of amortization and all that stuff with FFP, it helps them freeze them up more. And that's why the likes of Chelsea have allowed so many players to go to Saudi Arabia because, look, the transfer fees weren't massive, but the wages these guys were on weren't acceptable and they wanted them cleared off the books. So I know it gets a bit confusing and it seems weird that the transfer fees haven't been massive, but I don't think it'll be long. I think it is public knowledge that Saudi Arabia have the money to spend ridiculous amounts of money on players. Like, they're buying Otavio for 60 million. They will definitely pay more than that for players of better quality. But at the moment, it's a weird trend where they've probably, on the whole, paid less for players of better quality and more for players of lesser quality. So it's really strange. I'm sure it will level out. And it won't be long until, I'm going to say this right now, it's a massive statement, within the next 2 years, the Saudi Pro League, the PIF, will break the world transfer record because it's something that will bring more eyes to the league as well. And I'm absolutely certain it's going to happen. But just to touch on a couple of other rumours and news that's coming out of Saudi, Otavio, Akambi, Demiral, Ibanez, Wanmi, Bono and Kudu Carrillo have also joined the league in recent weeks. Some more massive names who have plied their trade in some of Europe's biggest leagues. Rumours are also suggesting that things aren't all well at Etihad. They may already be changing things around. They've already hit their foreign player quota, and that means that the likes of Jota are now potentially disposable after only joining a couple of weeks ago. He now may potentially be moved out on loan. He may be moved on completely. He's not... I think the Saudi Pro League have realised they can attract bigger names. And I think ultimately they're thinking, can we loan him out if we need the likes of Salah to come and join Etihad? Maybe. Because that's the rumour. That's where he could end up. I'm not too sure how Jota feels about that. But ultimately, look, if someone can cover his wages that are obviously excessive for a player of his level, then maybe he might be moving on because Etihad are going to need the space if they suddenly realise they can attract Mohamed Salah to join them. There's also news breaking that Nuno might not be the keenest person on Benzema, which is strange to me. And Benzema's been pretty good in his first few games. He's had a good game week 3. He's finally netted his first goal. And I'm confused with this because for me it's a simple decision to choose between Benzema and Nuno at your club. It's a no-brainer. I know Nuno's done well in Saudi so far, but Karim Benzema is the current Ballon d'Or holder and arguably he is bigger than Nuno. So I don't think he'll be staying around long, Nuno, if he keeps making decisions like that. I'm sure he'll be moved on before the likes of Benzema, who will bring far more eyes to the league, is moved on. Look, if he does move, it'll be crazy that the fact he's gone there in such a short amount of time and left, but I'm pretty sure Nuno might be out the door first. But let's see what happens. Watch this space with Etihad is all I'm saying. I'm going to put a link, because it's absolutely crazy, in the description below to the Saudi transfer list on Transfer Market, so you can see every player that's joined, because I can't go through everyone and all their fees and wages, because it's just been absolutely ridiculous. I'll put a link to like the Discord and all my social medias as well. Come and join what we've got going on Discord. I'm trying to build a community there for everyone to talk about Saudi, the Premier League, FPL, all that sort of good stuff as well. So I'd love to see you in the Discord. I'll leave a link in there. I want to get a chat show going. So I want to get you guys coming on to talk about the Saudi League and the Premier League and stuff like that. So definitely get involved. But back to the Saudi Pro League. Game week 3 is currently ongoing. Al-Nassr will play tonight. Ronaldo could return to action, but there's already been a couple of games that have gone on, and we need to talk about what's happened so far. Al-Ahli have been exceptional so far this season. They've got such an exciting team that's only getting stronger and stronger, but the game that they had against Al-Ittihad wasn't quite what they expected. It was a very hard-fought, well-earned 3 points. This is an absolute tongue twister. The front three were quieter than normal. They've been really exciting so far, but Matthias Yassel has got them playing really, really good football, and they are exciting, but Al-Ittihad was so well drilled defensively. They made it really tough, and actually, for me, I thought that Frank Kessie looked really, really good. The way that Al-Ittihad dropped off, they allowed Kessie in the midfield a lot of room, and he really excelled. He was an absolute destroyer in the middle of the park. He created a number of chances. He put in a couple of really good crosses, and ultimately, in the 96th minute, it took a piece of magic from Mahrez, a couple of step-overs, to create a crossing opportunity for Frank Kessie to nod in his header and round off a superb performance. Al-Ahli winning 1-0 in the 96th minute and staying up near the top of the table where they want to be. I'm impressed with this side, and I'm impressed, and have been previously, with Matthias Yassel and what he's capable of getting his teams to do. Moving on to a Riyadh-Jeddah derby. I'm not sure how big this is with the fan bases, because I know Riyadh aren't quite the biggest team in Riyadh, but Etihad are a massive side. The Tigers, as I've been told. I'm trying my best to pronounce these words, these names of teams. Obviously, my Arabic isn't unbelievable. What I'm trying to do, if anyone can help me, is get Arabic subtitles. So if anyone knows how to help me, then let me know. I'll do what I can to get them on. But this game was an absolute whitewash from Etihad. They looked very, very good. The Tigers are unbeaten in their first 2 games. They were looking to continue that run. Benzema, the current Ballon d'Or holder, has been really, really good without scoring a goal so far. This time, he changed it. He managed to get his first goal after 17 minutes. He opened his account against Riyadh for Etihad. Now, N'Golo Kante, another player that kind of moved so early on in the transfer window. It's been pretty quiet about him, because N'Golo does what N'Golo does and quietly goes about his business. He battled away in midfield, got about it, won tackles, and honestly, this guy looks like he could play in Europe if he stayed injury-free at the top level for so much longer. A fantastic player, and I love watching Kante play. He has so much energy, and I honestly don't think the Saudi League will know what's hit it with a guy like Kante, but Etihad's a really interesting team for me. I feel like defensively, they do still need a couple of recruitments. I know I've spoken about this before, but I look at that team and I do think defensively it's lacking. But going forward, they don't have the biggest names. Yeah, look, they've got Kante and they've got Benzema, but a couple of other players are really, really catching my eye, and they're very good to watch. Romarinho is a player that impresses me more and more every time I see him play. He's a silky little Brazilian player with an eye for a pass, an eye for a goal, and a player with a bit of history in the Saudi League of how he's now playing for Etihad, and there's a lot of drama and stuff. It's well worth a research. A great player, an enjoyable player to watch, and a player that is an absolute gem of the Saudi League and probably only appreciated by the real fans. So watch out for him. He's a class player, and him and Benzema are really creating a good understanding. They look very, very good. He actually got the first assist for Benzema in this one. Hamdullah is another exciting player. He's been around for a while. I've definitely heard of this guy before the influx of players to the Saudi Pro League. Probably from FIFA. Can't say I've watched much Asian or Saudi Arabian football prior to this season. He's the number 99. He managed to score 2 goals. Benzema netted first. This guy then managed to score a penalty, and then he scored on the edge of half-time an audacious bicycle kick to make it 3-0 to Etihad on the stroke of half-time pretty much. Go and check out the highlights of that goal. A fantastic bicycle kick, and you can even see on Benzema's face, he's absolutely stunned at the quality that was involved in that goal. So fair play. Look, they're looking really good, and I almost like the fact that they're looking this good with not as many big names being influxed into this team. They kind of kept what they had previously and been smart with their signings, because it worked before the signings, so why change something that isn't broken, or why fix something that isn't broken? And then in injury time, Benzema there again managed to assist the substitute Amri, who came on and just managed to tuck it away after Benzema's brilliant assist. Riyad did miss a penalty in the second half as well, but other than that, it was mostly uneventful in comparison to what was a dominant first half from Etihad. The second half was reasonably quiet. They stay at the top of the table, 3 wins out of 3, and they look to be the team to beat right now. Hilal, another team who have already managed to play in this game week, they absolutely smashed Riyadh off the park. 4-0 was the full-time score. It took just 41 minutes for the debutant Alexander Mitrovic to nod in his well-timed header to open his account for Hilal, his first goal. I might add that the assist from Ruben Neves was exceptional. This team probably looked the most well-rounded to me. Al-Ahli have, in terms of the top teams and the teams that are being very well invested into, I think Al-Ahli have a very exciting front line. Etihad have a sort of good midfield and attacking sort of structure and fluidity to them, and they play nice football, and they've won the league as well last season. But Hilal look to be building the best sort of looking team, I'd say. Every time I watch them this season, and I know it's only a few games, they're looking better and better. Their players are looking fitter and fitter, and I do like that manager. He's done wonderful things with Benfica before Jorge Jesus. So, world-class assist from Ruben Neves, well worth a watch. These highlights are on YouTube. They're a couple of minutes long if you want to see them. If you have DAZN, you can watch the full matches, and you can definitely watch longer highlights as well with commentary, I've found. So there is English commentary available. YouTube seems to be muted highlights with just fan noise. But they went 1-0 up after 41 minutes. I think this team looks very, very good. Just after the break, Hilal won a penalty for a handball. Up step number 29, Dazwari. This guy you might remember from the World Cup scored a fantastic goal against Argentina. He sent the keeper the wrong way and put it down the middle. A very, very emphatically tucked away penalty with the celebration to match. There was somersaults, backflips, cartwheels. He is obviously a gymnast in his part-time, but he's a player that has kind of gone under the radar with all the big names that are joining Hilal, but he's obviously been doing it for a while in Saudi. This guy is probably, it's fair to say, one of the best Saudi Arabian players for the national team and in the league himself. He's a very, very talented football player. He's looking strong in a team of world-class players. He doesn't look like he shouldn't be there, which I think it would be fair to say some teams, you can see the disparity between the teams. This guy, he fits the bill. He looks like he's part of it. He's a very, very good player. On the other wing for them, Malcolm, he's looking better and better. I thought the first game he looked very, very good, but he didn't look too sharp. He looked a bit slow. The pace is back. The speed is back for this guy. A jinking run through the right-hand side of the pitch into the penalty area led to him being brought down in what should have been a penalty. The ball rolled onto Zazawi again, and he stuck it away to make it 3-0. They were absolutely flying at this point, Hilal. Malcolm was ripping up that right-hand side. He's looking sharper and sharper with every game, and a super talented player that I would have just, like I've said before, loved to have seen players trade a little bit longer for some of the top teams in the world rather than spend that time in Zenit. But look, he's getting the eyes on him now, and he is performing. A player with a wonderful left foot. Honestly, an absolute hammer of a shot on him. They then managed to cruise into the 75th minute, and the game then suddenly turned vicious. We saw 2 red cards. Milinkovic-Savic, the Serbian, headbutted the player Omar, something is his name. He plays for Riyadh. He was on the receiving end of a headbutt. He fell to the floor. Milinkovic-Savic was instantly dismissed for the headbutt. There was another bit of a scuffle, and the referee then sent off Omar as well. He was then dismissed. Both teams would finish the game with 10 men. The victim of the headbutt probably felt hard done by on this one, but then just before the final whistle, Hamdan would net the 4th goal for Hilal, and Bono would manage to secure his first clean sheet in a dominating performance for Hilal. So they move on where they want to be as well in the league. I guess they want to be in and around the top, and they're definitely there, and they're definitely improving from what we've seen in the earlier weeks. So keep an eye on this team. I like the look of them. I'm not saying I support Hilal, because I definitely like the other teams as well. I'm pretty neutral at the moment. I'm seeing where I naturally grow to a team. Like I said, Ronaldo could be back in action tonight for Nazar, and there could be a couple of debuts. I'm not too sure. The Saudi League's been absolutely brilliant at the moment, and I know the information is a lot to take in, but after the transfer window closes, it will settle down, and we can just focus on the football and really start to enjoy it. The players with better quality are really starting to show right now. I'm loving making this content. I'm really enjoying the refreshing watch I'm getting from watching the league. If you're liking the content, please subscribe. We have had an absolute blow up recently in subscribers, and I want to keep growing this community. Check out all the socials, and I'll see you in the next one.